Hello, everyone. It's Ashley with Court Reserve. We are so excited to have you on our call today. We're going to get started in just a minute, but just a couple of announcements. Of course, we're always trying to be in areas where we think it's relevant for our clubs and things. And so we're going to be heading out on the City Series tour with the Racquet Club Series. We're going to Philadelphia next weekend. Super excited. If you actually get on our Instagram or Facebook page, we're going to be giving away some free tickets to this, but you got to be on Instagram and Facebook. So join that and you'll see how you can do that as well. And then if it's not too late, we're doing mastermind. It actually starts tomorrow. Might be a little late this time, but if you're a pickleball facility in any manner, we highly recommend you eventually go to mastermind. You're gonna spend money somehow. Might as well not waste it. Go to mastermind. We highly recommend it. Our team's out there in Utah this week with our pickleball folks. And then if you are here and you're a Court Reserve user, you got to come to a Catalyst. We have put so much just this year into Court Reserve, and just wait till you find out what we're going to release on July 9th. I'm not giving any clues, but definitely get your tickets. We're going to Seattle, Washington, September 15th, and Skillman, New Jersey, right outside of Cherry Hill, September the 30th. So we are super excited about that as well. So today, regardless if you use SafeSave payments or not, there's a couple others. There's Stripe. There's some other folks. You are going to learn so much today about chargebacks. These are experts at SafeSave. Rachel and Shane, welcome to the Court Reserve webinar series. We are so happy to have you guys here today.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So, if you're a business owner, Tim and I, we opened up Old Coast Pickleball last April, and even Court Reserve itself, we occasionally have had people come in and say, "Oh no, I don't want to pay for this. I'm charging back." So, Rachel, first of all, tell us what a chargeback is.
So a chargeback is basically when a customer goes directly to their bank to dispute a charge
Okay.
rather than speaking to the merchant. Nowadays, that's often just a button in their banking app. So it makes it easy, sometimes a little too easy, to skip you entirely and get a refund.
Yeah. So they don't even go back to the business. They don't even call us at Old Coast Pickleball and say, "Hey, I want to talk to you about this charge." They just go right back to the card or right back to the bank.
Yep.
It's
Yeah,
it's a dirty
unfortunately.
practice. Yes. All
Yeah.
right. And so I know you have a slideshow ready to go for us. I'm super excited. So why don't you just go ahead, you and Shane, just take it over, and you
Awesome.
guys, I know you're going to have questions. Put them in the let's see, do we want to put them in the chat or the Q&A? I actually like the Q&A better. So if you'll put your questions today in the Q&A, we'll go through those as we go ahead. So Rachel and Shane, take it away.
Thanks. Just pulling up my notes. So, welcome to today's session on chargebacks. I know they're a hot topic right now out there in the payment processing world. Um, the objectives of today's session is to have you all understand chargebacks at a higher level, prevent them before they start whenever possible. Sometimes that's unavoidable, but every time we can, we will. Respond effectively when you do receive a chargeback and reduce your overall fraud risk. So in 2023, the average cardholder filed almost six chargebacks each at around $76 chargeback. So that was $65.2 billion in chargeback disputes in 2023, and that number has gone up significantly since then. And it is expected to continue to rise, unfortunately. Let me hit the next. Um, so what is a chargeback? We went over this briefly, but a little more detail. A chargeback is a forced reversal of funds, a forced refund directly from the bank. It skips the merchant, skips the payment processor entirely, and starts a process at the banking level to ultimately often recoup those funds for the customer. It was created as part of a federal act to protect consumers from fraud, billing errors, etc. And it has expanded into a much larger issue for merchants, consumers, everyone involved. It is different because merchants have no control over the initiation or outcome of this refund. And it does cost you money and time even when you do win. Um, chargeback volume is expected to grow almost 25% over the next 3 years, reaching almost 330 million chargebacks annually. Uh, so who's involved? There's many parties. So ultimately, the cardholder, whether that's the customer or if your customer used someone else's card, the true cardholder, the issuing bank, the card network. So Visa, MasterCard, Discover, American Express, they control the rules for compelling evidence, for timelines, for the processing of disputes. Um, they are really the backbone of the entire process. Your payment processor, so in our case, that's SafeSave. We act as the middleman for the process. Rather than controlling anything, we really advocate for our clients in the process, help submit documentation, and notify you when a chargeback is filed. And then, of course, there's you as the merchant. And I do have a timeline, cute little photo here. So you can see just how complex this process can be. So it starts with the cardholder and it goes through all three separate parties to reach you as the merchant. After you receive the chargeback, if you do choose to dispute, you communicate that to your merchant services provider. We communicate it usually through a portal to the card network. The card network communicates with the issuing bank, and then the dispute process and the review of evidence occurs to come to a resolution. So here's that same timeline written out for all of you verbal folks. So with SafeSave, you have 7 days to respond. Dispute timelines vary based on payment processor. It's typically between 5 and 20 days, but the resolution is required by law to occur within 90 days. We almost never see it go beyond 90 days and often closer to the 30-day mark. If you win, your funds are returned. If you lose, the transaction stands and the customer is refunded. But no action, ignoring the notice is an automatic loss of those funds for you guys. And some common chargeback reasons. Some things you'll hear from customers and we hear through the process is customers go to their banks and say they didn't authorize the charge, that they canceled and were still billed. Oftentimes this is after they have gone beyond your cancellation policy, so they want a refund and have not been provided this refund. They never received the service. So, in for tennis clubs, pickleball clubs, that's often for rain dates and things where an account is being credited. They don't recognize the charge or system errors, unclear policies, things that are typically resolved with communication.
So I have a question, Rachel.
Yeah.
So are for you guys at SafeSave, this is kind of, going through that, but are most payment processors doing the same kind of thing, or are these things that you guys do specially because like you're fantastic people? Like tell us a little bit about that. Is this a normal process for all payment providers?
So it is to an extent. So the difference with SafeSave is that we are a much smaller team. So when you email or are getting a chargeback notice, you're getting it from me or my teammate. So when you reply with a dispute or a question, rather than a robot or going through an automated system, there's a real person on the other end going through your documents with you, looking at the dispute information and trying to help you navigate that system. Many other payment processors are a larger group of people, so you don't necessarily get the same amount of help or personal attention, but the general flow of things from cardholder to bank to merchant services provider is the same.
Just
Awesome.
just to piggyback on Rachel's point there. So the universal chargeback process as a whole is the same. The steps it goes through, the bank, the card brands, etc. Well, we're different, and like Rachel said, we're a smaller team. So we're sending you an email notice almost right away. Other
Mhm.
processors we've worked with send out a letter via snail mail, which could take a week or two to get to you. So now your timeline to respond is even shorter. You're probably dealing with an automated system, robot, as Rachel mentioned. So that's just one way we're different, but the steps it goes through behind the scenes through Visa, MasterCard, all of that is the same. but our methods for notification are a lot quicker.
That's awesome. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you. Um, so every time you receive a chargeback, the first question, and honestly, the main question you should be asking is, should you respond to the chargeback? Um, to do that, you should really do a cost benefit analysis and review the documentation you do have. So, can you prove the service was provided? Do you have any signed agreements, any check in logs? Did you disclose a cancellation refund policy? Was that clearly handled? Sometimes accepting a chargeback is better, but that's on a case by case basis. Say that a $5 chargeback is going to cost you 3 hours of work. Your time is money. You're busy business owners, your staff is busy. Is that $5 worth that 3 hours? And it'll vary from business to business. And you can always email, if you use SafeSave, you can reach out to us and we can assist in figuring out what documentation is best. Or there's a lot of resources online as well as now in the CourtReserve knowledge base that can help with that as well. So if you do choose to respond, building a strong response is the main battle. So you want to be clear, calm, and factual. I try to explain it like you're explaining the entire situation to a stranger. You want it to be clear, organized, complete. Um, Jokingly, I say it's like you're going on Judge Judy. You really have to make it easy to understand for the person on the other side who's going to be reviewing all your documents. You have to connect all the dots with your evidence and your statement and directly dispute the chargeback reason that you're given, which we can go into in the next slide. So you can include booking policies, no-show confirmation, screenshots from CourtReserve are excellent. Signed policy agreements, attendance records, all of the above, directly from SafeSave or your payment processor, including AVS, CVV. So that's address verification. CVV is your security code on your card, like the pin on the back. An IP address is evidence. Typically, it'll say if there was a match, a no match. You can look and see if the IP matches the billing location. And that is strong supporting evidence as well, especially in fraud cases. Oh, and you definitely want to submit on time. Missing the deadline means that the cardholder will win that case. So some myths and misunderstandings. So this is like a true or false game going on. All chargebacks are fraud. It definitely feels that way, but this is false. The chargeback system was set up to protect consumers, and it does do its job in that way, despite the new issue with friendly fraud. SafeSave and your payment processor can cancel a chargeback. We wish we cannot. False. It is managed entirely by the card network and the issuing bank. So we have no ability to cancel or prevent a chargeback from being filed. I often wish I could for our clients, though, I will say. Merchants can't win disputes. The It feels this way for a lot of our clients that I speak to, especially after a big loss, but win rates can exceed 70% if you follow the rules and submit proper evidence. Evidence is the name of the game. Most chargebacks do stem from poor communication and criminal intent, not criminal intent. I get a lot of emails saying exactly the opposite. But it is true. Chargebacks are often pure miscommunication, a lack of understanding from cardholders. So true fraud versus friendly fraud. This is huge right now in the chargeback world. True fraud is everything we all think of when we think of fraud. So, stolen cards, identity theft, some bad actor on the other side trying to get a service for free or testing to see if a card works so they can use it elsewhere. Friendly fraud is what's become very common with chargebacks. It's also known as first party fraud, first party misuse, but it's typically a fraud claim or a chargeback that's filed specifically to recoup funds, maybe on accident because they forgot they purchased it, or there's a miscommunication of the family, but occasionally also because they're confused or they regret the purchase and want their money back without communication often, or user error. I know I have done this myself as a consumer where I see a charge on my debit card or my credit card and I go, I don't know who that is. And I immediately go to press the button like to mark it as fraud or dispute it. And then I go back later, like, I'm so sorry. I figured out what it was. Even when a consumer goes back to reverse a chargeback, it's still going through to the merchant. They're still incurring fees. They're losing time. And most customers are not aware of this. Um, so the best chargeback is the one you never get. It's much cheaper to prevent chargebacks than to fight them. Um, Chargebacks cost around $3.75 for each dollar lost directly. And this is because of time lost, processing fees, damage to accounts or reputation. So we'll go over some best practices. These are good overall business practices and they build trust in your clients, but they also build a documentation trail and make it more clear to your customers how to cancel, how to request refunds, and prevent confusion and friendly fraud situations. Um, so clear, visible policies are your first line of defense. You want to use every customer touch point to communicate them. You can also submit this all as evidence of agreement in disputes, and it increases your chance of winning. So you want to display cancellation and refund policies at checkout. CourtReserve does have the ability to require digital agreement to terms at checkout. I've seen. I'm sure Ashley can speak more about that if anyone uh, needs information on that. And you do want to avoid ambiguous language. So rather than may be refunded, you say refunds provided within this amount of time for if you so like refunds provided for cancellations within 24 hours, something like that. You have to be very, very clear. And I do have examples of that are in the CourtReserve knowledge base or going into the CourtReserve knowledge base. You want to send confirmation emails with full booking details whenever you can, and include information on how cancellations and refunds work in all communications. Proactively remind your customers of their upcoming sessions, document every cancellation and complaint in writing. When you document things in writing, you can submit that in the case that a dispute is filed, that a chargeback is filed. Respond quickly, keep detailed records, train your staff, contact members early. Um, yeah, I think that covers many things. And of course, this will go on forever
Yeah.
with documentation options.
Well, and I'd love to speak to that because in aside CourtReserve, there are a couple different places. Definitely people can go in right now and on payment receipts, they can add additional notes, that go along with. So if you're running a point of sale and you're selling drinks or merchandise out of your point of sale shop, you could definitely have a refund policy on there. We also have the waivers and liabilities within CourtReserve. So you could always put your refund policies in the documentation when the member first joins your organization. Now, does anybody read that? No, but you can prove that they signed it when they joined your facility as well. You can put refund policies on your member portal. There's lots of different ways. And so what Rachel is describing is different ways that you can, add these refund policies, what your procedures are. Of course, you can print them out, put them at your front desk, put them on the app, but as well, I think it's just good for you to even think about this because I was telling Rachel and Shane before this, at Old Coast Pickleball, I don't even know if we have this written anywhere. So we want to make sure that we are presenting, this is exactly how it is. This is our refund policy and et cetera. So I know that Rachel, you've created 4 documents for us at CourtReserve specifically for SafeSave clients. And we are working on putting those documents into the CourtReserve knowledge base under those SafeSave articles. So if you're interested in reading what those are, I know Rachel's going to go over them, but just reach out to support later on, and then we can show you where that lives. So.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, it's good policies overall and great evidence to submit as well, although I hope you can avoid needing to submit. So using CourtReserve and SafeSave to prevent and respond. So CourtReserve has a lot of great features for managing your customers. Tracking attendance and cancellations is huge. Submitting that as evidence in dispute is also incredibly helpful. Card networks do take attendance seriously, and proving that they attended either through the CourtReserve features of tracking or images. I've had people submit images from their security cameras even. It also logs check-ins messages. You can create custom forms, and Ashley talked about modifying where policies are placed on the website and the app, etc. SafeSave, for prevention, we do have real-time fraud prevention solutions. So we have fraud prevention available in each gateway that can be managed by the merchant directly. You can also reach out to our customer service team if you want any help going through that and figuring out what works best for you. Oftentimes, this means modifying CVV or AVS settings, and we have some other options as well. Overall, CourtReserve is incredibly secure, so card testing and other forms of fraud are a non-issue. However, preventing things like incorrect card use or using someone else's card can be helpful with some of our settings in the gateway. We're also PCI compliant, so you don't have to worry about data breaches, anything like that. You will get all of your dispute alerts via email, and it has instructions on how to reach us for questions and submitting those disputes, and the support and guidance we offer. Oh, and this is just a fun fact. It is a marketing bonus to use the chargeback prevention tools and policies to build trust with your customers. So by communicating clearly, having all of your policies posted, making it easy to understand how things are billed and why they're billed, not only do you reduce disputes and chargebacks, but you improve your reputation. Members know you're protecting their data, you're practicing fair billing practices, and that you're transparent and proactive in handling any concerns that do arise. So it's just a overall good business practice. Some fun real world fraud trends. So in a Forbes report on chargebacks, merchants reported that at least 44% of chargebacks were friendly fraud. Other numbers that are not based on merchant reporting have this number even higher, which is unfortunate. Fraud is not always what you think it is. It's often a regular customer changing their mind or being confused. So 84% of customers surveyed in the chargeback.io survey said filing chargebacks felt easier than requesting a refund. A good prevention method is to try to make it easier to request a refund than to file a chargeback, which is the ongoing struggle. 72% of customers saw no real difference between filing a chargeback and requesting a refund, and almost around half skipped the merchant. Card testing fraud is rising, but it's incredibly low when utilizing risk of, sorry, I have Wednesday brain. There's a really low risk of card testing fraud utilizing CourtReserve because of login features and other security.
So, Rachel, what is surprising to me is that, most people, common people, they don't even realize what they're doing when they do a chargeback. They're actually hurting the business, right?
No idea.
And they just don't know. And I mean, it's interesting. I'm glad that we're having this conversation today, because this allows, like you said, for our clubs and facilities to really go above and beyond and make sure that their policies are in place and that they can tell their players, hey, please come to us if you have a concern about a charge on your account, and maybe not have to go through the burden of all this chargeback stuff.
Yeah, it's a game of prevention. And I do think that most customers, if they knew the burden and the fees and everything associated with a dispute when they file it, would not be filing them to begin with. A lot of our customers are like our clients know their customers. They email
Right.
in saying, I know this person so well. I don't understand why they're filing this. And it's often just a communication issue. So
Yeah.
making everything very clear makes a huge difference.
So good.
Yeah. And it's just one note, chargebacks are popular right now because of the convenience of mobile apps and all of that. But the lack of awareness, confusing return policies are a huge part of the increase. So preventing fraud without friction. So you, like we talked about, you want it to be everything to be clear. You want it to be so easy for your customers to go onto your website, go into the app and see who they have to talk to, who they have to email, who they have to call. Can they press a button to request a refund? Any of that, so that they don't have to go guess or search, press 5 clicks to find your policies. Um, Enable the address verification system and CVV checks if you can. You can work with our support team and call in, and we can help you figure out what settings will work best based on your processing history. And a lot of other payment processors will have a knowledge base or support team as well that you can work with. And requiring logins for reservations is a huge part of preventing card testing fraud as well, which is very much not an issue with CourtReserve, which is great. Um,
So, Rachel, let me just stop you real quick. I just saw a
yeah.
question come in, so I figured we just answer this one real quick, give you a little breather. So, it's asked that SafeSave charges a $20 non-refundable fee for chargebacks. Why is this fee not returned if we prove the chargeback is erroneous?
So the fine is my absolute least favorite part of chargebacks, and I'm sure Shane can agree. This is a fine that's directly given to us as your payment processor by the card network and bank. They say it's for chargeback handling and processing, but it's not a SafeSave making any money off of your chargebacks. It's being charged to us, and we pass that to you as our client. Um, we do work with clients as best we can, but it's overall something that is an unfortunate and standard practice in the chargeback world because banks are issuing this to all payment processors.
So yeah, one thing we see with others is they'll charge a monthly fee for chargeback handling. Whether you have them or not, you're getting charged a $20 fee, a $30 fee. Not everyone does this. Most do, how we do it is per occurrence. As Rachel mentioned, we're passing along what we're charged. We're not increasing that or upcharging it. But even if you win, that fee still sticks. It's not like it goes away and we get refunded the fee. It still applies regardless. Um,
The
the
beauty of
I've
winner
being a
seen,
business owner.
yeah, yeah, it's very fun. I've also seen, I like to look at how other businesses are managing chargebacks as part of my job. And I've seen some companies, your first chargeback fine is free, and then after that, it's $50 to $100, depending on the case. Like, there's a lot of different ways of applying it, but the fee is standard,
Yep.
unfortunately, and not charged for fun or to make a profit.
Let's go. I've got a couple more questions here.
Yeah.
So one is, let's see, we would like our confirmation emails to provide more information to avoid issues. When will CourtReserve be building the ability to customize the confirmation and reminder emails? So currently you can go in and to those emails and you can add additional information, the payment receipt. You can put it on your event registration emails, your lesson. There's a lot of stuff that you can do. We are going to be working in Q3 to do more customization around emails, but right now you can certainly add additional information to those emails. And so what I would do is if you have questions about how to do that, please reach out to support. We're definitely, we can help you with that. And then the next question, if we get a chargeback request, decide that it is not worth contesting, so we refund the charge to the card, does that fix the problem and avoid the fee?
Unfortunately, no. I wish. So when a chargeback is filed, it's acting as the refund already. So in all SafeSave chargeback notifications, there's a line saying to not attempt a refund in any way because the chargeback is the refund. So if you want the cardholder to receive a refund, you would either accept the refund, usually via like for SafeSave, you reply saying accept, or do nothing. But you absolutely do not want to provide a refund on top of a chargeback,
Mm.
as it then you will be out extra money and you'll be in the negative. Um,
So, yeah, if you have questions, definitely reach out to SafeSave and support and make sure that you
yeah.
don't double them for
Yeah, you don't want to give
requesting that.
away free money like that. It's already a painful process. So,
Right. That's
yeah.
exactly right. All right. We have some more questions coming in. This is great. Where can we find the confirmation email that was sent to the customer to support these chargebacks when disputing? So I'm assuming, Cindy, if you're talking about Court Reserve, all emails you can actually go into. And I tell you what, Cindy, what I'll do is I'll try and get support to kind of make you a screenshot of where you can go in and see where emails live that go out of Court Reserve. And then what about from you, Rachel? Do you guys have any emails that you send out with information that can be helped in the dispute?
We don't send any emails directly to customers, but in the gateway, we do carry all of the transaction data. And have found that submitting a screenshot of the entire transaction is incredibly helpful, especially for fraud. You can also pull your transaction history. So if someone's claiming fraud and say they have 10 other reservations they've made and not disputed, submitting those other not disputed transactions, the transactions with no chargebacks, is really great evidence that no, this is not fraud. This is just a confused or
Mm-hmm.
angry customer, something like that.
Right. Are you telling me that sometimes people just get upset and they just do chargebacks because? That's
It's
terrible.
rare, but it does happen. It's not a fun practice. I have seen, I would say once a week, I get a reply that this customer is just mad we won't refund her because she received the services. How do we prove that she received the services and this is not
Mm,
fraud?
wow.
So there can be a malicious aspect. Luckily, it's not super common, but we have all had experiences with someone who just wants to show
Yes.
you how angry they are. So,
Yes. All right, we got another question. Is there a determination on how the CVV code will be used either by Court Reserve or SafeSave to avoid people loading incorrect card numbers into their payment profile?
oh, Shane, you want
No,
to
no,
talk
go
about
ahead.
this? We have been working with Court Reserve on this, and I believe that feature is incoming. But Shane, I don't know if you have any updates.
In terms of storing a payment profile, you actually can't store a CVV, so
Mhm.
it's not used for that purpose. And by default, we're not requiring a match on a transaction. Um, just because of the same storage issue, you can't actually store it. But if it is provided on a transaction, you'll see the response, like did it match or did it not match on
Mhm.
our side in the transaction history. We have settings, you can certainly enable it so that it must match or a transaction will fail. We can set that but by default it is not. But if it is provided, you see if it matched or not under the transaction details in the gateway.
Nice.
Yeah, the CVV for saved payment methods is more difficult because it's federally illegal to store the security pin, the CVV. So it does make it more difficult in terms of blocking transactions through the CVV method. Address verification is typically better, but that has pluses and minuses too, depending on which settings you choose. So reaching out to SafeSave is always a good call when modifying those settings.
Awesome. These are great questions, but Rachel, I'm going to let you continue on.
Yeah. So we've gone over this a few times. Went over pretty much all of this already. Let's see. Logins. Yeah. Sorry, I'm catching up. So spotting fraud early. So in cases of true fraud, which are incredibly uncommon with Court Reserve, however, they do happen, unfortunately. You have some red flags you can look out for. A lot of it is unfortunately a gut feeling based on people acting strangely. So customers being rude and evasive when they're adding a payment method, or changing their card 10 times and each time it's failing. I don't know many people who have 10 different credit cards to attempt a transaction with. Um, Disputing last minute, like canceling last minute often, disputing unfamiliar names or locations. If you're based in Florida and someone books online from Washington, just like, they could be traveling, or it could be um, something a little weirder. So keeping an eye on your payment processing overall and who's signing up, and just being aware as best you can of what your transactions are, is a good best practice. And you are in control of who you accept as a customer. If something's suspicious to you, you can reach out to SafeSave, you can reach out to CourtReserve, and protect your business first and foremost. And the last page. So the final takeaways for protecting your club's bottom line with chargebacks and fraud. Understand the process. Chargebacks cost time, money, resources, reputation. Know the flow of chargebacks. Know who's involved in the process. Have clear policies. Communicate proactively. Keep strong documentation, respond quickly and confidently, watch for warning signs, and leverage your partners. Court Reserve is excellent. They're here to help you. We're here to help you at SafeSave. Your payment processors have knowledge bases and support teams you could reach out to. So don't be afraid to reach out for help and use the systems to really tackle these issues.
Yes, definitely. Because I can tell you, CourtReserve, we've been around over 8 years now, and occasionally, we've had a player accidentally come in and they've subscribed to CourtReserve. Now, why they did that, I don't know, but they did. And then instead of coming to CourtReserve and saying, "Hey, I don't know why you charge me," it's the chargeback. So we've actually worked with Rachel a couple times, on this. And so, Rachel, I want to share the kind of the documents. Do you want me to share the screen?
Yeah, that would be
Okay.
great.
All right. So I'm going to share these documents just because I want to kind of show you guys what the team has come up with. And we're going to actually take these and put these in the SafeSave articles within the Court Reserve knowledge base. That's where all of our articles and videos and things are. So one, they've done a chargeback prevention guide. Again, a lot of this stuff we've kind of gone over today, but just wanted to kind of show you guys how to handle this. A customer dispute call log template. This is great because then you can use this internally, keep good records. That way, when you're working with Rachel, you can already show her and the merchant, what you guys have already done. A chargeback response template. So this is great because you've already given us the language that could be used for this. And then just an overview of chargebacks, what to expect, timelines, how we work with SafeSave, all the SafeSave emails and phone numbers and support and everything. And so I just wanted to share that with you guys. If you would like copies of these before we get them in the knowledge base, because literally Rachel sent these to me this morning and I'm like, oh, that is so gold. Reach out to Court Reserve support and say, "Hey, I was on the SafeSave webinar today and Ashley said I could ask for those 4 documents and we will send those to you." They're PDFs, so they're really good right now. So any final questions, please go ahead and put those in the Q&A so we can make sure and answer those. Rachel and Shane, I think, in this day and time, as much, as we would love to think that, there's no fraud out there at all and that people aren't going to do this. I mean, it's just part of running a business. And so I just want to thank you guys today for taking the time out to come on, regardless if you use SafeSave or not, whether you use Stripe or another card merchant provider, this is really good knowledge for all businesses to be aware of. So, and at Court Reserve, we're constantly working to try and make it easy for you. So again, if you need help with knowing where the extra line item is on your confirmations or your payment receipts within Court Reserve, reach out to support. I will let them know that you guys are on the way to ask questions because we want to make sure that we help you set up these policies and procedures in order to do and to run your business more efficiently. We got a question. I assume that when a chargeback goes through, there is no change in the CourtReserve payment history of that member. So what happens within that? Can you talk about that a little bit?
It has been a little bit since I've had a screenshot come through. I know that in SafeSave it shows as failed. So when when a transaction comes through as a chargeback, it'll show a chargeback line. So it'll show sale, settle, chargeback, and when that chargeback happens, it changes the transaction to failed. So I'd have to check with CourtReserve support on how it shows on the CourtReserve side. I unfortunately don't have a system myself, but we do get a lot of questions being like, "Oh, I thought this transaction failed." It just changes to failed, so you can't provide a secondary refund because that would not be fun.
And I
Yeah.
just made sure, and that is correct. There's no change in the CourtReserve payment history. We don't actually get any notification in CourtReserve that a chargeback is done. And so that would answer that question right there for sure. So good
Yeah,
question.
and we do have automated gateway emails
Mhm.
that'll go out and tell you when a chargeback's filed, and then our chargeback dispute email that has all the instructions on what to do, who to talk to, what your options are, and everything like that that we send out as well to the primary gateway contact.
Anything else you can think of? Oh, let's see. He's got one more question. So how do I settle the reports in CourtReserve to show a chargeback? That is a great question. And what I would encourage you to do is reach out to customer support because I don't know the answer to that. I'll be quite honest. So I'm trying to get the answer for you right now. But if you'll reach out to support at CourtReserve, then definitely we can help you know what to do with that. The next question is, does CourtReserve place the $20 chargeback fee on the customer account? No, we don't know when a chargeback happens within CourtReserve. And so if you want to charge your customer for doing a chargeback, then you'll have to go in and assign a miscellaneous fee of somehow on that customer or that member's account within CourtReserve. So
I do suggest including in your policies if you will share the fee with your customers if they file a chargeback accidentally, just so you can cover
that's
yourself
another
a
great
little.
idea, actually,
Yeah.
to have in your policy. So if they accidentally hit the button, they're charging back, then they're going to help you pay for all the processing fee of $20 for sure. So we got another question. Should I contact the customer once I'm aware of a chargeback or just go through the process?
I always suggest contacting the customer if you have the time, time, cost, benefit analysis, always. But oftentimes you can resolve things directly with a customer, either through accepting a new payment method, or they can call and cancel the chargeback with their bank, and then send you an email confirmation of that cancellation. So it's worth it, in my opinion, to reach out. And if they don't answer, please contact SafeSave or your payment processor. And I would say if you would like to dispute and not have that be a refund, we should plan out your documentations. I wish, Tracy, thanks for your question, Tracy.
Yeah, Tracy, that fee is part of something that even SafeSave's not doing. It's a part of the policy of the provider, what Visa, MasterCard, Discover, all those
Yeah.
fantastic people that we love. So that fee does not go away. So that's where she's talking about, Tracy, where you can make it as part of your policy that if you do have to go through this chargeback dispute, then you can share that pain with the customer that's actually trying to charge back. So completely up to you guys.
Unfortunately, that fee happens at the time the chargeback is initiated. So if a customer clicks that button in their bank that says dispute and then go 2 minutes later, go, ooh, accident, and call their bank and say, never mind, it already got initiated, the $20 already hit. So it's immediate.
Yeah.
Really? Oh my
Yeah, that's why that
goodness.
fee, like even if they win the chargeback or the chargeback's canceled, it was already initiated, that's when the fee applies. That's why it still applies even if the customer cancels it. The cardholder cancels it, sorry. Because it's at the time of initiation.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very fun process.
That's why we got to. So here's a great question. How do you come up with a great policy for refunds and chargebacks, right? I mean, I'm thinking off the top of my head. I mean, everybody's all AI crazy right now. ChatGPT
I
might
was
have
gonna
some
say
great,
I was
ChatGPT.
gonna say,
right? Like ChatGPT,
yeah.
like, hey, we need a great refund, cancellation,
Mhm.
chargeback policy for our pickleball or tennis club. what can you give me? And then the other thing I would do is, I'm sure state by state regulations also flow into this, which is why
Mhm.
CourtReserve, we don't actually give anybody any waivers or disclosures. You have to get those yourselves. I will put a plug out there for a Rocket Lawyer. When CourtReserve first got started, before we had an attorney, we actually use Rocket Lawyer for a lot of basic documentation, and it'll do it per state. So I mean, it's not very expensive. It's just a monthly fee, and you can cancel it anytime. But you might want to go out, use ChatGPT first, and then maybe verify that with your own state.
Yeah, that's a
That's,
great point. Yeah.
I was gonna say, if ChatGPT as a first thought, but yeah, online, your state, there's tons of great resources. The unfortunate truth is you can have the best, most rock solid policy ever and still lose.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
unfortunate. It definitely helps and definitely increases win rate, but it's just important to know with this process as a whole, even with the best, you sometimes will still lose.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
So
it's there's a person on the other end in the card network who's reviewing documentation, and their ability to read and understand, and choice to read and understand is it throws everything in a whirlwind. It's a bit of a roller coaster out there, but it is a good call to review things with a lawyer. Rocket Lawyer is a great idea.